Do you have a black blouse nearby? I'd love for us to try a quick little experiment. We are often told black is our best friend, but hold that fabric up to your chin and look closely at the shadows in your nasolabial folds. See how they deepen? That isn't a failure of your skin, that is a physics problem. Now watch what happens when we swap it for soft olive. The shadows blur, the texture softens. It's effectively a biological filter. The truth is simple. It's usually not you. It's an optical principle called simultaneous contrast. Think of black like a harsh spotlight that digs into every line, amplifying the depth of your features. Soft olive, however, acts like a candle that diffuses light back up onto the face. We aren't banning black from your closet today, my friends, but we are going to understand exactly what it costs your complexion. Today, I'm revealing 5 specific soft olive formulas that finally answer the question of what to wear instead of black. And here is the kicker. This isn't about chasing youth or trying to look 25 again. It is about alignment. We are using sartorial physics, simple geometry and light, to frame the woman you are right now with the elegance she deserves. To do that effectively, we must first expose the specific optical law that is currently sabotaging your look. In the world of color theory, this law states that a dark color placed directly next to a lighter surface intensifies the perception of depth at the boundary. Why does this matter for your face? Because wrinkles and facial hollows are essentially just shadows. When you frame your face with black, you create a high-contrast border that forces your eye to register the adjacent shadows as darker and deeper. Specifically, this exaggerates the nasolabial folds and the natural hollows under the eyes. It is not that your skin has changed, it is that the black fabric is optically digging a trench under your jawline, sharpening every texture change that we actually want to soften. Here is how soft olive corrects that error. It relies on the physics of light diffusion. While black absorbs light and creates a void, soft olive reflects a diffused, gentle light back up onto the jawline. Think of this like a photographer using a white bounce card or a soft focus lens in a studio. The color literally fills in the shadows rather than deepening them. But here is the critical nuance you must get right. It cannot be just any green. If you choose a dark forest green, it will act exactly like black and drag the face down. You need a soft olive with a distinct gray undertone. This specific pigment lowers the contrast ratio against mature skin, acting as a biological filter that blurs the edges of the face rather than sharpening them. We are effectively replacing an absorber, which drains the vitality from your complexion, with a reflector that restores it. This swap is the single fastest way to look rested without applying a single drop of concealer. You are manipulating the light to work for you, rather than letting it work against you. But I have to warn you, getting the color right is only half the battle. This brings us to a concept called the fabric drape coefficient. And getting this wrong is why so many expensive outfits end up looking cheap. The most common mistake women make here isn't the color. It is choosing a stiff cotton poplin that fights the body. While cotton is breathable, it possesses high structural rigidity. This means the fabric holds its own shape rather than collapsing against yours. The result? It creates a tenting effect over the midsection that visually adds volume where there is none. To fix this, we need to look for a high drape coefficient. This is a textile term that measures how much a fabric resists bending under its own weight. We want materials like modal, tensile, or high-quality viscose. These fibers have low bending rigidity, meaning they pool and skim over the curves of the body rather than standing away from them. This is the intersection of comfort and style we are always chasing. A fabric that feels as soft as your favorite pajamas but possesses the visual weight of luxury. Now that we have the right fabric, we must refine the specific tone. This is critical if you have silver, gray, or salt and pepper hair. The enemy here is army green. This shade typically has a heavy yellow or warm base. When you place that warmth next to the cool, blue-based tones of silver hair, you create a visual clash that makes the complexion look muddy or tired. The solution is to shift to soft sage. If we look at the color wheel, this sits in what we call analogous harmony with your hair. Because sage contains a cool gray undertone, it speaks the same language as your silver hair. It acts as a bridge, brightening the silver rather than fighting against it. This is one of the best colors for gray hair because it respects the cool temperature of your natural palette. Here is the formula in action. A fluid, modal sage blouse paired with cream trousers. It looks breathable, intentional, and harmonious. So, here is your first formula. Fluid fabric plus cool undertone equals success. When you combine high drape material with a color that harmonizes with your hair, you achieve presence without looking like a colorful character. You aren't wearing a costume, you are wearing a frame. But perhaps your concern isn't just about complexion. What if you want to look taller? What if you feel that breaking your body into separate blocks of color is shortening your silhouette? This brings us to a powerful optical illusion called the column of color, which is the secret weapon for anyone who feels petite or boxy. The optical principle here is the unbroken vertical line. When you wear a high-contrast top and bottom, say, a white shirt with black trousers, you create a horizontal line across your midsection that visually cuts your body in half. The eye stops at the border. But with a single column of soft olive, the eye is forced to travel from shoulder to hem without interruption, creating an immediate illusion of height and leanness. While an all-black column often looks like a severe shadow or a void, an all-olive column reads as a silhouette. It has dimension and softness, while still providing that statuesque structure. However, there is a trap with tonal dressing that we must avoid: the uniform effect. The rule you must follow is same color, different texture. If you wear a cotton olive shirt with cotton olive pants, the outfit looks flat, almost like a utilitarian jumpsuit. We want depth, not flatness. To create that depth, we mix light-absorbing fabrics with light-catching ones. For example, pair matte crepe trousers, which absorb light and slim the leg, with a soft knit sweater that catches the light and adds radiance near the face. Notice how the light hits the knit texture differently than the smooth trouser? That subtle contrast is what makes the outfit look intentional rather than accidental. But I must warn you, this entire look falls apart if you miss Zone 3, the shoe. If you break the column at the ankle, the illusion collapses. I'm going to show you exactly which ankle anchor fixes this when we get to the apple shape section in a moment. When you get the texture mix right, the result is transformative. You achieve a statuesque quality that commands the room without shouting. This is the definition of how to look polished after 60. It has the neutrality of beige, but with significantly more life and character. You look taller, leaner, and incredibly put together. So, before we move to our next body shape, I want to have a very honest conversation about the fear that simple equals invisible. I want to speak directly to that whisper in the back of your mind. You open a fashion magazine or scroll through social media, and you are bombarded with loud luxury. You see neon green predicted for 2026, massive logos and chaotic prints. And a little voice whispers, "If I'm not wearing that, am I invisible? Am I irrelevant?" At this stage of life, you have earned the right to ignore that noise. That isn't style, that is marketing designed to make you feel obsolete. Here is the reality. Quiet luxury beats loud luxury every time because it respects the woman wearing it. When you curate soft olive outfits, you aren't playing it safe. You are choosing sophistication over attention-seeking. It is the choice of a woman who knows exactly who she is. I'm curious, though, do you feel that pressure to wear bright, loud colors just to prove you're still vibrant? Tell me in the comments below. I read every single one. Now, let's get back to mechanics, because if you have struggled with tunics clinging to the midsection, this next formula is the answer. We are tackling the specific mechanical problem of the apple shape, where standard advice often makes the problem worse. The standard advice you've likely heard is, Just wear a long tunic to cover it. But mechanically, most standard tunics fail because of the cupping effect. When a tunic is sewn straight down the side seams, it hits the widest part of your hips and creates tension. This tension forces the fabric to curve inward, cupping under the belly or the seat. Instead of concealing the midsection, it actually outlines it and emphasizes the roundness. This defeats the entire purpose of the garment. This is also where we must recall our lesson from earlier. If you try this with stiff cotton, you create a tent. That fluid modal fabric we discussed is non-negotiable here because we need the material to have weight, not stiffness. But the fabric alone isn't enough. We need to release the structural tension. The structural fix is called the split hem release. You need to look for a tunic where the side seam is left open, specifically starting at the hip bone. This slit releases the tension. It allows the front panel to fall straight down over the midsection without getting caught on the hips, while the back panel falls independently. The fabric floats rather than clings. For my petite friends who worry about drowning in fabric, here is the thumb tip rule. When you stand with your arms at your sides, the hem of the tunic should not extend past the tip of your thumb. Any longer, and the proportions overwhelm your frame. You risk looking like you are playing dress-up. And finally, we must close the loop on the footwear. Remember the ankle anchor warning? To keep this volume balanced, you cannot wear a chunky sneaker. You need a pointed toe flat or a sleek low block heel. This extends the leg line we created and prevents the tunic from making you look bottom heavy. When you combine the split hem release with the right proportions, the result is freedom. Notice how the fabric moves around the body rather than clinging to it. You have coverage, but you also have movement. This is also the perfect blueprint for you how to style olive green pants over 60 bodies. If you are conscious of your tummy, by pairing the slim leg olive trouser with the split hem tunic, you create that lean column underneath while the top provides the grace. You look comfortable, but you don't look sloppy. We have done casual, and we have done smart casual. But what about those moments when you need to walk into a room and absolutely own it? When the lights go down, the physics of your fabric must change to compensate. We swap the matte, light-absorbing fabrics for sheen. Think silk, satin, or a high-luster velvet. Why? Because in low light, like a dimly lit restaurant or a theater, you want your garment to act as a light source. When you wear a soft olive silk shirt, it catches the ambient light and bounces a warm, lustrous glow back onto your skin. This is the ultimate secret for cozy evening wear for women over 60. You don't need heavy makeup to look radiant. You just need a fabric that does the illumination work for you. But here is the rule. Keep the silhouette incredibly simple. We don't need ruffles, and we don't need complexity. Let the luxury of the fabric speak so you don't have to shout. Now, this is where we have some fun with those loud luxury trends we talked about earlier. This is the safe zone to bring them in. Accessories. The beauty of soft olive is that it acts as a neutral grounding wire for boldness. If you wear a massive gold necklace against black, it can look severe or costumey because the contrast is so sharp. But against the muted, earthy tone of olive, that same gold looks rich, historical, and curated. It softens the bling into glow. Try a chunky gold chain or place a vintage brooch high on the shoulder, not on the lapel, but actually up on the shoulder bone. This draws the eye upward, creating an instant visual lift. The olive calms the gold down, and the gold wakes the olive up. It is a perfect symbiotic relationship. When you put this together, the luster of the silk and the weight of the gold, the result is not just dressy. It is regal. You have a presence that feels timeless rather than trendy. You are not fading into the background like you might in a standard black dress. You are the background. You are the canvas. This is the difference between looking nice and looking iconic. You have a complete arsenal to frame yourself with dignity. But there is one final piece of the puzzle. We have seen clearly how black creates shadows while soft olive diffuses them. But the physics is only half the story. We have moved from the rigidity of cotton that fights your body to the fluidity of modal that moves with it. But more than the fabric or the color, I want you to remember the shift in mindset. You are not wearing these clothes to hide. You are wearing them to frame. We are done with anti-aging. We are focused on alignment. The goal isn't to look 25, it is to look magnificent right now. As the legendary Iris Apfel said, I don't dress to be stared at, I dress for myself. That is the energy I want you to take into your closet today. But remember, the silhouette collapses if the foundation is wrong. Next, we are going to fix the biggest mistake women make from the ankles down. We are tackling the perfect shoe for stability and style, and that analysis is waiting for you right here.